Thank you, Natalie. Good morning, Toastmasters. I would like to introduce you to Margot. Margot works at the South Valley Training Company in Sandy, Utah. She works 2 days a week, 4 hours a day. For her effort there, she earns about 10 to 30% of the minimum wage in Utah. Now you may ask, why on earth does she only earn 10 to 30%? Well, Margot is autistic and she has Down syndrome. And under Section 14C of the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act, nonprofit companies and even some profit companies can offer jobs to people with disabilities at a wage below the minimum wage so that they can take part in the economy, feel that they're productive, and gain some pride from being able to hold down a job. Now, your supermarket cart person may be in that same category, or your bagger. We have some people who are mentally challenged, but who can fulfill jobs in that category. Now, Margot's job is unfortunately in jeopardy because there are a number of organizations out there who are trying to repeal Section 14C. And in some states, they have already been successful. So Margot's fellow disabled people in Minnesota today are probably without a job because Minnesota has voted that you cannot offer these jobs below minimum wage. And in Utah, similar efforts are going on. And the argument for this is that we're exploiting them. Now, this is unfortunately a totally unrealistic argument because as much as we would like it, most of these people, we don't have the medical solutions to help them if they're autistic. We don't have the science is not there to help our fellow citizens with Down syndrome. So the only realistic thing today is to offer them what is possible. And in order for them to partake in the labor market, unfortunately, we have to offer them a lower wage. And quite frankly, for most of these people, the money is not the central part. The central part is that they can be out there and gain the pride from holding down a job at some level. But this is just one part of a broader problem. And the broader problem is related to minimum wage as such, minimum wage laws. Today, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. In the different states, it varies from the federal level, some 20 states have stayed at that level, up to $17 an hour, which is in Washington, D.C. Here in Colorado, it's $14.81 for non-tipped and about $11 for tipped. In the city and county of Denver, the minimum wage is $18.81 for non-tipped, and it is $15.79 for tipped. Now, this creates a number of problems, and I want to touch on 3 of them. Number 1, it's forcing businesses to close. In January of 2025, just a couple of months ago, as an example, Karina Lukenbach, owner of Bebop Waffle Shop in West Seattle, had to close when the city of Seattle increased its minimum wage to $20.76. She had been struggling already before, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And instead of being able to employ 8 people, she had to fire them all. Most of them are now on unemployment in the state of Washington. Another example in this category is Denver restaurant closings. As I mentioned, the Denver has a very high minimum wage. And unfortunately, it had meant that quite a number of restaurants in the city and county of Denver have been closing because they simply cannot handle the new high minimum wage rate. The second example I want to give you is that wage laws, minimum wage laws, are even also preventing businesses from opening in the first place. And unfortunately, we don't see this. We don't know what could have been. So people who have an ambition to open a business, they make their calculation, and then they come up on the minimum wage law and they realize, sorry, can't make it work. We never see those businesses opening up and thriving. Thirdly, minimum wage laws are preventing young, unexperienced workers from getting a foothold in the labor market. Alex Thompson is a teenager here in Denver. He has been looking for a job for quite a while, and he has had several prospects. But all of the people that he talked to, all of the employers, they say, sorry, you don't have enough experience for me to take a chance on you at this high minimum wage rate. So the title of my speech today is, Are Minimum Wage Laws Immoral? And it's a rhetorical question because I argue that yes, they are. And why am I saying that? Well, they violate the individual rights of both employers and employees. Corina, Alex, Margot, to independently, or in Margot's case, with the help of a guardian, seek employment, to come to a common agreement of a wage rate, whatever that wage rate is, and have an agreement and work for each other. And they should be able to do that without government involvement. Now, the argument out there is that, well, we have to have minimum wage laws because of that exploitation. But that is an age-old argument that has been proven wrong over and over again. We live in a country and in a world with a thriving economy, and one of the hardest things to find are competent and ambitious employees. And quite frankly, as employers are competing for these people, we will start to see wages slowly go up without the government interfering and distorting the market to the disadvantage of these groups of people. So my call to action to you today is to reject minimum wage increases, but even more fundamentally, argue for the repeal of minimum wage laws, whether they are federal, whether they are at the state level, or whether they are local. Next time you face a ballot initiative or a state legislative action, or as some people are arguing for increasing the federal minimum wage, there is actually a program or an initiative in place to increase it nationwide to $17. Next time you face something like that, pause and don't reflexively buy into the exploitation argument. Instead, give some thoughts to Margot, to Corina, to Alex, and their millions of other victims of minimum wage. And instead, argue for protecting the individual rights of employers and employees, for the individual rights of you and me to go out in the marketplace and offer employment and seek employment as we see fit. Good morning.